Okay, so what we're going to do in this lecture is to look at measurable goals in usability testing or user observation. Um, and first, measurable goals. You will do this in project 4. So I have experienced through my teaching that this is sometimes quite hard to understand how to express measurable goals for usability and user experience. But this is getting more and more popular in the Icelandic software industry. People are doing more measurements all the time. This is probably because of the lean wave. So people are really setting goals and checking if they've reached their goals. Counting and measuring something. But I've seen that students, at least in Greining and Hönnun, the software requirements and design course, it's hard to grasp in some way. So I will do this now. So can you tell me which of those are measurable? All of them? Okay. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. But for the first one, this is more like an objective or something, but it's not measurable because you don't define what is well. Yeah, if you do, then it's measurable. Like in the second one, you're actually probably saying the same thing, but you can measure if you have accomplished this or not by using these. So these are actually from my own. These are my own goals, or were in the spring. So I had this equipment here called J-Bone. It's a wearable thing. It got into parts, so I don't wear it now. But I was very inspired by this. So I had this, and I had the app in my phone, and it could tell me right away if I had achieved my goal or not. So I had, but my objective was to sleep well, but I defined it that I wanted to have 3 hours of deep sleep, and you could see it in the app. You get this overview of your sleeping, and the darker are the deep periods, and the lighter are the light one. And here, because this person probably has 8 hours of sleep as is his or her goal, and has not achieved that for this night because this person slept 7 hours 42 minutes. So, but there, yes, then some of you saw this right away, that the first one and the third one are too vague because you don't know what well is and you don't know what better condition is. But this is very easy. I want to walk 10,000 steps each day. You get this equipment to count for you. And I want the pace to be below. Yeah, you could also see that. So you can get various ways of making your goal. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. So how do we do measurable usability goals then? Remember, the usability is this, and we had measurable factors called effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction, the orange ones. And they were defined this way. Effectiveness is the accuracy and completeness with which user achieves specified goals. Efficiency, resources expended in relation to the accuracy and completeness with which users achieve goals, and then satisfaction, freedom from discomfort, and positive attitudes towards the use of the product. So, okay, if we have this, how can we make a measurable goal for this? Let's just take effectiveness. Can you make a measurable goal for effectiveness? Yeah. How would that be? If you complete a task or not. Resources. Then you're down to here, then it's efficiency. But okay, on time, then it's efficiency. Yeah. On time, what does that mean? Which time is that? Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you have to be sure, do you want all? Let's say we say, okay, we have this task of buying a ticket for the theater, you know, and we want it it is not supposed to take longer time than 2 minutes. Are we then saying all users should be less than 2 minutes, or is it the average time, or yeah? So we have to be very like definite there. If we say the user should not use longer time than 2 minutes, is it then all users, or that's all users? Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, either that, or no one or no user should be take longer time than 2 minutes. If you want that, you can define your goal yourself. You just have to be accurate in how you define it. So, and we have a lot of things that we can define. Usually it's if they finish the task or not for the effectiveness, because it's the completeness. So do they complete or not? And also, if they don't complete, we could have some goals on how far they go into the task. For the efficiency, it's often the time, or maybe the number of commands or mouse clicks, or number of occasions they misunderstood. And then the satisfaction could be number of positive and negative comments. And then we can make goals of this, like the negative comments should not be more than 5 for the whole testing. Or, we can make hundreds of goals. It's just we have to think about what is it actually that we want to achieve. And we can also make like a little bit like that we have a preferred case. It would be 20 seconds. We would be very happy if it only takes 20, but it is okay if it is up to 1.5, but we wouldn't like that. So we can make like a spectrum. But so sometimes we can really define a goal, but say, but there can't be a variation up to this limit. And then we have to measure how it is now. So if we have this 2-minute limit for buying the ticket for the theater, we should, and we say all usage should be should take shorter time than 2 minutes. We could get 5 users, we could check, and as soon as one takes more than 2 minutes, we've not achieved the goal. So this is the Icelandic Student Fund analysis of the goals that the users want to achieve and the user groups. And if we want to do measurable goals for this, it could be that 90% of the students can complete this task to find information about how to apply for funding. So now we're not saying all, we say 90%. Because all is quite strict. But sometimes we maybe want them to, because we say this is really a core task. Everybody have to find this. Yeah. It takes each student less than 2 minutes to apply for funding. Students grade the overall satisfaction above 4 on average. So here we are talking about on average. So yeah. So to measure this, we could ask them, what is your overall satisfaction? And on the scale from, and we could have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 being very satisfied and 1 very unsatisfied. And then we just calculate the average and we check if we are above 4. So, and to be able to measure this, we have to do observations, like you have been hearing me saying. We have to get maybe 5 users. We have to have this task, find information about how to apply for funding in the user testing to be able to measure this goal, of course, you know. And then we have to count how many it completed and calculate this. And sometimes, you know, like in the exam for Greining and Hönnun this spring, I asked people to state measurable goals like this for usability, and then tell me how they would measure it. And they stated some goals, but then the measurement was not on the goals. You see, they maybe said, and then we would ask them to do, to register and to, you know, do something else, not find information, but something else. So they didn't really connect, or I don't know, I thought it was quite like logistic, you know, there was a logic in it that you first state the goals and then you have to design the test so you are able to evaluate the goals. But for them, it was not as like a natural flow as I expected. So we need to do usability testing to be able to find this. So in the case there, preferably we could have at least 5 students and we could ask them find information about how to apply for funding. And then we would measure if they complete the task or not and how long time it took. And then we are able to answer. So we could check now. Did we reach the goals? 90% of the students can find the information. Nope. You're right. It takes each student less than 2 minutes. Nope. Users grade the overall satisfaction above 4. No, it's very depressing. So we have to redesign it. Yeah. Okay, so you probably, it could be redesigning the goals. If you say, you know, if this is like the 10th evaluation and you see just, well, we can't reach this. This is maybe too ambitious goal for us. You could change the goals, but usually you would change the design because you have, maybe you have a competitor that um, that you are, yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, right, yeah. Yes, right. Get rid of this lousy user. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but this is a good discussion. So usually you would redesign, but yeah, all of this depends. But I would presume that you have thought your goals quite thoroughly, and you have maybe something, maybe the old system, maybe some competitor, maybe the customer says, well, I want this to be this way, or something. So you have like a frame for the goals. So then your approach would be to try to redesign. Yeah. So this one was finding info for loans, and we could say, yeah, the value now is 34 seconds. And we wanted it to be there below 2 minutes. So we haven't reached it yet. And we had 75%. That was not right, was it? It's 80%, 82. Okay, so it doesn't really fit together. But still, we should, what we should do is that we should register how the status is now after the evaluation that we did. What are the goals now? You know, where are we in this? And I told you some time ago that you could also measure it with a questionnaire, like asking people, were you able to do what you set out to do? And you can count how many say yes totally or yes partly and so on, and you could get your goal in saying, well, everybody has to say either yes partly or yes totally, you know. And also for the satisfaction, it's very often that you give people alternatives like this, and then you set the goal of that you want either everybody to say okay or something above, or some average thing here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the goals would be different here. You know, we could say 90% of the users say that they could complete the task partly or totally. Yeah. So the process is that we set the measurable goals for usability, we prepare usability testing, and then when we have all the data, we calculate the results and check if we reached the goal. Well, you can do it also with post-it prototypes. So in project 4, you will do, so in 3, you do the post-it prototype and you do the interview. And there you are sort of just getting like the first reaction. You get the list of results. You do a new prototype from the results that will be in 4. So the first thing, yeah, first thing in 4, you do a new prototype based on the results from 3. Yeah. And here you set measurable goals. So you design a evaluation for measuring the goals. And the goals could be that all the users can complete the tasks that you're asking them, you know? So it doesn't have to be time, or it can also be comment that you're not getting many negative comments or less than 5 negative comments, or And you could also measure the satisfaction afterwards with a questionnaire. So you have a lot of tools to measure, actually, even on the paper prototype stage. Yeah. But of course, you know, like these, measuring the time is maybe not a good thing, but the completeness of tasks and maybe the satisfaction you can do. Okay, user experience can also be measured. And this was the definition. It's the person's perceptions and responses resulting from the use and or anticipated use of product, system, or service. That means that it's all the responses, you know, including emotions, beliefs, preferences, and so on. So it's very, yeah, some people think it's very fluffy. It is really subjective. And it's before, during, and after use. One of the most maybe common ways of measuring user experience is to use the attractive, and you used it on paper for the Reykjavik University website during one, yeah. So that was that, and we can also make goals for that. So you could also use that one. Like this is a result from a study where we used attractive. It was actually Birna Iris that came here. She was involved in designing, making a new design for a software that they were developing at the company that where she was working. And she asked me, and or no, we asked if we could come and do user testing on that prototype. And it was coming, so the users hadn't seen it. They had been using the old version, but we showed them the new version in the user testing. So we could ask them, okay, now before you have used the software, what are your expectations? What are your beliefs, emotions about the new version? And that is the blue line. So they expected more than they got, actually. We did then user testing, and we asked them to fill in the attractive afterwards, and then we could compare. And attractive, it is like this. It has 28 questions, and these questions are in 4 groups. So they are actually measuring 4 factors, and these are the factors. The hedonic quality and something called attraction, I think, and pragmatic quality, and I can't remember what this one is. Okay, so they have 7 questions for each of them, and you can also say, okay, I want the pragmatic qualities to be 1.5 or above. You know, you could start to make measurable goals also based on the attractive questionnaire. So what I'm saying, yeah, this is the example I took. I didn't remember it was on the slide. Yeah, so what I'm saying is we have a lot of tools to measure. We have a lot of possibilities to make measurable goals. That's not the problem. The problem is maybe to first make the goals, not too many, just like focus on some particular things, and then evaluate so we can check if we reach the goals. Evaluate, then we are measuring, and we check each time we evaluate if we have reached the goals or not. So how do we then measure this? We have 2 approaches: formal user observation, and you will do that in project 4, I mean, and the informal user observation, you do that in project 3. So prototype interviews, what you're doing in project 3 is a evaluation. I didn't ask you to do these measurable goals for that one. So you will have that only in project 4. Okay. But for the formal user observation, it is, you have seen this in Greining and Hönnun. We have predefined tasks. We have several users. We have predefined roles. So we could run through this quite quickly. We have the observer and the participant, and they solve predefined tasks. And the tasks have to be then, they have to fit to the goals. You. Yeah, very good question. Are the tasks and goals the same? Okay, usability goals. Now I was saying usability goals. So you have these measurable usability goals or measurable UX, user experience goals. Like we said here, it has to be less than 2 minutes. That's a efficiency goal. So it's a goal for usability. You have those goals, and then the tasks are the tasks that you ask the users to solve. No. Very good question. Okay. Is that the task? Yeah. Okay, we could take it here. This could be a usability goal. This is a goal for effectiveness, which is one of the factors for usability. So this is a usability goal. 90% of the students can find information about how to apply. That is a task. You would then make a task for the user. You are starting studies at Reykjavik University. So this is a user task in the user observation. And you're doing tasks now in project 3. Yeah. So yeah. Or yeah. Oh, okay. So why are we having the goals? We are having the goals because we want the quality to be at a certain level. We want the usability to be at a certain level or user experience to be at a certain level. So we don't want to say, well, the usability is good. This is to wake, like I want to sleep well. It's similar. Or I want the users to have a good experience. We are saying we define how good the experience is with the goals. And the goals are named either usability goal or user experience goal. When you have the goals, you have to measure if you have reached it, and you do a think aloud session to check or measure if you have reached the goals that you have stated. Yeah. And the tasks that you're asking the users to solve in the user testing or user observation session have to fit the goals. You have to make a task for the user to find information. You can't say if you have reached this goal if you don't have any task, if the users are not doing this in the session, of course. Yeah. But this, my students, especially on the first year, they have had problems in explaining this to me, at least in the exam. So maybe they can state a goal, and then when I ask them, but how would the user tasks be to be able to measure the goal, they maybe state totally different tasks. Yeah. So this link is not as obvious as I think. I've experienced that. So that's why I'm trying to do this very, very thoroughly now. Yeah. So the first thing, you set measurable goals, then you prepare the usability testing. And when preparing, you make the tasks that so you're able to measure the goals. And when you have all the data, you calculate the results. Yeah. Okay. Isn't it? There are 10 minutes or 5 minutes left or something. Yeah. Are we almost done? Okay. 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah. So when we are doing usability testing, we could involve, hundreds of users, especially if the goal is really, we could also have, would like all of our 100 users to be able to solve this. We have to test with 100 users. But and sometimes people do um, you know like use Google Analytics or something to check how many have done this or that. It's not very common that you have more than 10 users actually in a user observation or user testing with Think Aloud method. Having them there for 1 hour, you usually have 5 people. Mm. But it could also involve only 2 or 3 users. You're just checking the first experience. It's more formative, meaning that it's used to redesign. And this is more the type that you are doing now in project 3, that you are just getting feedback and for redesigning. The user observations or user testing can take place in various places. It could be at the workplace or home. I've done several of those, going to the homes of people or going to the workplace. And it's very, very nice because you get so much understanding of how it is used. So we did a study in the aluminum company. I think I've told you about that study. And then we went to the aluminum company, to the workplace, and checked the users there or observed them. The usage of the system. It could be remote usability testing. It is getting more and more popular. Then you have a user, you ask them to do this and that. This list of tasks, and then they do that and send you a video file or something. And it could be in a fixed usability laboratory where you ask the users to come to you. But actually, the best, if you're able to go to the workplace or in context, I recommend that. Let's go quickly through the Think Aloud method. You should know it, but I can just briefly go through it. The most common data or measurements we are gathering is, did the user finish the task or not? What is the time for each task? And they grade the system in a questionnaire. The main thing with the Think Aloud is that you ask people to talk. You ask them to explain what they're thinking. And there it gets its name. So the user talks while solving the problems. It can be performed without having users to think, and then it's called usability testing. and it has the same steps, except that the user is not talking. And we have the structure, we have the introduction. It's similar to the prototype interviews. We have an introduction first. We could have an interview checking the background. And then you have this section of task solving. Similar to the prototype interviews, you had the tasks and you asked the user to solve tasks. Afterwards, you would have an interview or questionnaire and then thank you. So, on the introduction, you thank the participant, you tell them the goal, you tell them the process, what will be done with the data. Maybe you have an agreement with the participants telling them what will be done. The tasks, this is also good for you now for project 3. The tasks, the most important thing about the tasks is that they should state what should be done and not how these should be solved. So there was actually a group of students asking me to be a user yesterday, because they are doing a final project on a website for Landspítalinn. It's the main hospital in Iceland, and it's for the psychology department. And I can show you what they asked me to do. So, no. Okay, Landspítalinn. Like this, and they wanted to check this. This is the psychology department. And then they told me, can you find the telephone number for, it was some special department. And I looked and looked, and I found this, but it was only the number. It was not the special. I think it was something about anorexia or something. Well, yeah, there was this special thing. It was this like emergency thing, and it was this number that I was supposed to find, but it took me a long time, actually, because I first went here and checked if it was here and something, and then they asked me to find some material about kvíðaröskun, which is anxiety disorder. And I went, so I was supposed to find some information about it. And when I started to try to find it, I went, but everywhere, and I couldn't. I think they had I think 11 tasks, and I couldn't solve 2 or 3 of them. And I really experienced myself as a stupid one, So it is quite hard when you can't solve the tasks. And then what I was heading for was also that, making the tasks is a bit tricky, because I was sometimes wondering, they said, find information about kvíðaröskun. And I was like, why do I have to need that? Why do I have to do that? So I explained to them, maybe it should be better if you say, well, some of your relatives have got this disease, and you would like to read more about it. Then it would be more connecting for me to start. So they were a bit too direct for me. I didn't really get the motivation of doing all this. So I think after my experience yesterday, I would say that you could give like a little bit of a background for motivate why you would like that, and then just what, not how. So don't tell them you would like to get yeah, information. Where did I close it? Or yeah, yeah. So you shouldn't tell them like you should find information about the emergency operation by choosing this and then going there and so on. You know, here's the he was. I think this was something that I was supposed to find. It took me a while. But you can't tell them too much. You can't tell them how to do it, or not even maybe the words. So because then they start to just look for it. So it is quite challenging to make a user test that is sort of realistic. That you think, oh, okay, yeah, of course, I would like to know this, or I would like to do this. Okay. Yeah, we have to stop now. They are okay. And then you have questions and interviews before and after the section, which asks about the knowledge and the satisfaction. We will stop here, and I will cover the remaining part on Thursday. See you tomorrow. We will go. We will do testing with. So I will put forward a measurable goal, and you will do like an observation on a prototype, so you can see how this will happen.